Hi everyone, this is German World War II Archive, and as promised, this is my 40,000 subscribers Q&A video. A couple days ago I asked you all to send me questions for a Q&A video, which I wanted to do for quite some time now, and I figured that 40,000 subscribers would be a great opportunity to do so. First of all, let me thank you all very much for reaching 40,000 subscribers. It's a really high number for me. Even 10,000 was a high number for me, so reaching 40,000 subscribers feels really great. So thank you all for that. I've recently, in the last few weeks, got a lot of new subscribers and a lot of views in the last 2-3 months. So thank you all for that, and I'm glad to see that people enjoyed the content I produce. For this Q&A, I got myself a decent microphone. I hope my voice comes through all right, and I hope you can understand me. The footage that you see in the background is some Company of Heroes. I still consider to be one of the best strategy games / World War II games of all times. This is the Stalingrad mod, which in itself is a sub-mod for the Eastern Front mod. It basically has two scenarios, Stalingrad and Leningrad in 1942. This is quite obviously the Leningrad scenario. The map's called Leningrad Outskirts. I'm playing as German against hard AI. And the mod obviously adds a whole new units, tanks, artillery, but it also tries to make the game a little bit more realistic. Company of Heroes is a pretty arcade game, and this mod tries to change that a little bit. You'll see units die way quicker than in vanilla gameplay, and tanks having correct penetration values for their guns. I haven't played this game in quite some time now, so I'll make some rookie mistakes, so please don't judge my gameplay in the comments. I will also be putting timestamps in the video description for all the different questions I'm going to answer, so if you don't want to sit through the entire thing, just search for the questions you want the answer to. And I'm also going to put in the remarks sections in the comments a couple of links. I'm going to be talking about a couple of stuff, and I'll put links in the remark comment, so check them out. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Alright, so one of the questions that have been asked quite a lot of times, not only in this Q&A but also under my videos in the comment section, is where do I get my videos from? What are my sources? And up until now I usually haven't answered that question, mainly because it's a rather complicated answer. I don't have like a single source. But since this is going to be a longer video anyways, I can talk about it a little bit more in detail now. So for my audio stuff, the speeches, the radio broadcasters, there are two main sources that I use. One is a collection on the Internet Archive called Folk Soundomy Historical Recordings. This is a collection of over 1,300 audio recording, a lot of hour-long Hitler speeches, speeches of Goebbels, of Himmler, radio broadcasts, etc. It has quite a lot of stuff. Again, there's over 1,300 entries or 1,300 recordings in that collection. And, they're all in German, so they're not translated, so it's probably not going to be much use to you if you don't speak German, but I'm still going to put a link in the comment section. The second big source for audio recordings is the SWR archive radio. So the SWR, or SWR in German, is a German radio station, and they have a really large collection of historical recordings, basically from the start of audio recordings from the late 19th century all the way to modern times. And this obviously includes World War II stuff. For example, the Radio Werwolf stuff is from there, or Goebbels' last speech is also uploaded on their website. Also, sadly, only in German. So again, if you don't speak German, this is not going to be much use to you, but I'm still going to put a link in the comment section. And then individual recordings I take from different sources that sometimes I only use once or twice. Like, for example, I think the D-Day broadcast I got from SoundCloud, the speech of the Hamburg Gauleiter where he announces Hamburg's surrender in May 1945, I took from a Hamburg radio station that have it in their archive. So there's like individual sources that I only use once or twice. Now when it comes to the videos, for example the German newsreels, it's a little bit more complicated. As some of you may know, you can basically find all of the German newsreels pretty easily on the internet, but they're usually in a very bad quality, like in 300 pixels, very, very low quality. I initially had great problems finding decent quality news tweets. I found some of them on very sketchy websites. Like, for example, I found a couple of these recordings on Russian adult websites. This is no joke, by the way. I really found them there. However, ultimately what ended up being my largest source is a kind viewer of mine sent me a lot of stuff. He asked to remain anonymous, which I will of course honor, otherwise I would have credited him long ago. And he sent me torrents and individual files and all that stuff, which, has helped me a lot. So basically, my biggest source is indeed this one very kind viewer, I would say. So I can't really give you any link to that, of course, because he asked me to remain anonymous and he doesn't want to, making it public that he has all these files and stuff, which I will of course respect. But yeah. Now, one thing I can say, that if you see one of my German newsweeks and they have like this big BA in the top right corner, this stands for Bundesarchiv or Federal Archive, which is the National Archive of Germany. The German National Archive obviously has almost all of these newsweeks and has digitalized some of them. So whenever you see like a BA watermark in the top right corner, this is from the Federal Archive. I am not 100% sure, I don't think you can get them online anymore. But yeah, that's where they're from. Now, another thing I've been asked a few times is my own personal background. Like, where am I from? What is my background? Do I have a degree in military history? So I'm in my mid-20s. I'm from Germany, North Germany to be precise. And I don't have any degree in history or military history or anything like that. I have a degree, a bachelor's degree in international business. I'm currently doing a master's in international business and global development. So it's something business, finance related. While I do enjoy reading and researching about history, it's not something I would do for a degree or even for a living. I don't think it's a great job choice. And yeah, so in my free time, I like to research about history. I play video games. I like cars. I like to go hiking, which you really can't do that much, or mountain climbing in North Germany, so I go to Austria for that. But yeah, I don't think there's really much that's too interesting about me in the context of this channel. So I'll probably keep that brief. And yeah, so that's my personal background. What made me start my channel? So I've been interested in World War II for a very long time. I think I started somewhere in my teens. I don't really know when exactly, but it's like more than 10 years ago probably. And ever since my English got to a level that I consider acceptable, I've been helping people out with translating stuff from German to English. Some World War II related documents, German documents, small audio snippets and whatnot. And at one point, someone on YouTube uploaded, I think, some extra scenes, unused scenes from the Downfall movie. I think most of you know what this is. It's a movie about, the last 10 days of Hitler's life in his bunker in Berlin. And there were some unused scenes that someone uploaded to YouTube, but they were, of course, in German and they were not subtitled. So I wrote small translations for them and posted them in the comments and got a lot of likes on that. And I realized that, a lot of people are interested in German World War II stuff, but they can't speak German. So at one point I just decided to start translating a couple of these smaller speeches, and then I did some more, and this just kind of evolved into where I am now. I initially only did audios, like radio speeches or radio broadcasts and speeches, and then at one point I went into footage as well. And yeah, so basically what made me start my channel, in short, is that I've realized a lot of people I have an interest in German World War II stuff, but can't speak German, and me, being able to speak both German and English, I can translate that, and it interests me, and I think it's fun, so that's why I started my channel. Alright, so the next question that I've got is, what are my favorite subjects or segments in these newsreels? And another question that ties in with that is, do I prefer newsreels from early or late war period? So first of all, I think my favorite subject or favorite things I like to see in these newsreels are military hardware. So, whenever you see tanks, planes, artillery, machine guns, AA guns, that's just something I'm interested in, to actually, see military hardware being used in combat. Not only German one, but I'm also interested in seeing, for example, Soviet tanks or American tanks. Well, usually they're shown destroyed or captured or abandoned, but still, it's just nice to see these various military hardware. And as I've written a lot of times, a lot of the a lot of the footage that we nowadays have of World War II, of combat footage, actually comes from the German newsweeks. So this is just something I'm interested in. Another thing I find interesting is weapons manufacturing, armament industries. I have, for example, a Newsweek uploaded where there's a longer section of MG34 production, a longer section of Heinkel HE111 bomber production. So this is also something I find interesting. I'm not that interested in the entire propaganda aspect of it. For all I care, the narrator could simply shut up. I'm just more interested in, the actual frontline footage. And, because of that, I'm more interested in late war newsreels, because a lot of the famous weaponry, a lot of the famous tanks and planes of World War II, think of the Panther tank, the Tiger, the King Tiger, stuff like the Jagd Panther or the Jagd Tiger, they are all like late war stuff, so you will usually only see them in like 1943 and 1944 and 45 newsreels. Stuff like the STG-44 you will typically more often see in late war newsreels. But also again with the enemy side of, the Soviet and Allied sides, stuff like the IS heavy tanks, the ISU heavy assault guns, you will usually see them in 1944 or 45 newsreels. So it's just that they're like a lot of more interesting and more famous weapons of World War II are late war weapons. The variety of weapons is just not as big in 1939 or 1940. That's why I prefer late war newsreels. And another thing is that I'm personally more interested in defensive warfare, both in, actual historical battles, but also when I play video games, I kind of like strategy games. I like playing defensive warfare more. It's just something that interests me more, when you have like less manpower than the enemy and you just need to hold your position by cleverly distributing your forces and all that stuff. And obviously 1944, 1945, World War II, the Germans had a lot of defensive warfare going on, so this is just something that interests me more. So this is another reason why I prefer the late war footage more. Alright, so this next question is actually a rather interesting one, and it's a very interesting topic. The question goes, is there any information about how German audiences reacted to the newsreels later in the war, when it was clear, if it was clear, that things were going badly for Germany? And something that ties in with that a little bit, and do you think some of the newsreels are fake to show the people that everything was going okay, even if it wasn't? If so, if there's a way to spot it. Now, one of the most common misconceptions about German World War II propaganda is that the propaganda was telling people everything was going fine, we are going to win on all fronts, and, don't worry about anything. And that was not the case. So the German people generally knew that the war was going bad. They knew this from soldiers returning home, and they would tell how bad it actually was. They knew this from letters from the front lines. They knew this from disastrous losses such as Stalingrad, which were just so massive that you couldn't keep it secret. So it was reported, as well as the Allies conquering North Africa and landing in Sicily, and Italy dropping out of the war. The Allied landing in Normandy, these all were reported, and the people knew that the war was going bad. Air raids intensifying, having to work longer hours in the factory, more and more people getting drafted, younger people getting drafted, young schoolboys getting sent to man AA guns. So yes, the German people knew that the war was going bad. But one of the things that we have to take in consideration is just exactly how bad the war was going. Not a lot of people knew. World War II is an immensely complex conflict. And, there was no internet back then or Wikipedia. You couldn't just Google monthly tank production of the Soviet Union. Yes, that the Soviets were producing more than the Germans was commonly known, but just exactly how much more was unknown. That the Allies had more troops than the Germans was known, but just exactly how much more troops was not known. Even in the higher leaderships, there were probably only a handful of people who really had a complete overview of the entire war situation for Germany. Even many generals didn't really know. They knew how the situation was in their frontline sector, but not in other frontline sectors or in other fronts, or how the production rate was. They knew that the Soviets had more tanks than their own troops, but just exactly how much more was unknown, and all that stuff. This is, by the way, also true for the Allies. Of course, there were spies, and they could do analyzing production numbers and all that stuff, but even the Allies didn't really had a clear overview of German weapon productions and all that stuff. They had guessworks and they had spies, but no clear number. Now, what this means is that many people, while they know that the war was going bad for Germany, still had some hopes of not necessarily a victory, but rather to achieve some kind of compromise. Many people, as late as 1944, placed their hopes in, maybe Germany couldn't achieve some kind of peace with the Soviets. There was even the hope that they could keep some of the territorial gains in Poland, for example, or in Czechoslovakia for themselves. Later on, there was this hope that, maybe they could ally themselves with the Western Allies against the Soviet Union. And this hope was fueled by German propaganda. So German propaganda in late 44 was no longer about telling people, okay, we're going to win the war, but rather about, okay, just keep holding on, just, stop the enemy, keep holding on, we'll work something out, maybe a peace deal, we'll get together with the British or the Americans, and, we'll do something, just keep on fighting. And many people, to some degree, bought this, or hoped, believed, whatever word you want to use, right? Some people realistically believed that, other people, it was more like a wishful thinking, but, there was still some sort of this idea in many people's head that, okay, maybe we can still win this. And how do we know this? Basically by diaries, by not newspapers, but by letters, where people really wrote down, okay, maybe we can still hold on, maybe we can still make a deal. For example, when the American president Roosevelt died in April 45, there was like this hope that, maybe they could make a peace deal with the new president, because Roosevelt was portrayed as hating Germany, and maybe Truman didn't hate Germany or whatnot. So many people, clinged to these hopes. Now, when it became really clear that that Germany was going to lose the war in late 44 and early 45, usually people resigned. Openly criticizing the war was suicidal. You would get hanged or thrown into concentration camps pretty quickly, and people were hanged as late as April 45 for saying that the war was lost. The Gestapo and the SS were still roaming around the streets, and so it was pretty dangerous to openly voice critique. And they would just endure it. People were still going to movie theaters in March 45 because watching movies, at least some kind of enjoyment, the little enjoyment that they had, and then they would watch the German newsreels, and they would just sit there and watch it, and they knew that was bullshit, but they would just usually resign. And Goebbels himself mentioned that in his diary several times, especially in February and March 45. He mentioned that he is no longer reaching through to the people, that the people are no longer believing him, that they even openly criticize Hitler. So Goebbels himself knew by February and March that his propaganda was getting, or had no effect anymore. So yeah, just, in short, I would say that, up until late 44, a lot of people still had this kind of hope, that you could still achieve some kind of peace deal. And then by early 45, they would usually just resign. They would endure it. They knew that the war was going to be over in a couple of weeks, months at best. So they would just sit there, watch the newsweeks, watch the movie, go home, and just hope that it was all going to be over soon. And so the second part here, do you think some of the newsreels are fake to show the people that everything was going to cave and if it wasn't? All of the newsreels were fake. The entire concept, this was a propaganda show. So the entire concept was to basically, they weren't neutral news sources in a sense. That's, I think, what you need to keep in mind. They were always heavily edited. They never showed any German losses. Of course, early in the war, they were probably closer to the truth because, the victory over France, for example, they didn't really need to fake anything because they achieved a very remarkable success there. But especially when the war was going bad, the newsreel would very rarely show German casualties or German losses. They wouldn't really show destroyed German tanks or destroyed German columns, or they wouldn't realistically show, how German units got encircled and destroyed. So it's more like what isn't shown in these newsreels that tell you how these are fake, you know. I think that's one of the way you can easily spot fakes, or like how these things were manipulated, that they didn't show any German losses or didn't mention that entire German armies were getting encircled and destroyed and hundreds of thousands of German soldiers were killed or taken prisoners, right? That's how you can spot that. Alright, the next question, referring to World War II, are you most interested in weapons and campaigns, politics and biographies, occupation and genocides? So I've said before that within the German newsweeks I'm most interested in seeing military hardware, and I think that is, as a general rule, something I'm most interested in. So, you know, tanks, planes, artillery, AA guns, but also like infantry weapons, machine guns, rifles. This is just something I'm interested in, so the weapons that were actually used to fight the war. But I'm also interested in economics and politics of the war, you know, the individual units. I'm not someone who is like very invested in a single unit. I know some people spend like years researching a single unit or a group of units. I would say I have more like a broad range of interests from all sides, like Germany, but also Soviet Union, Great Britain, USA. But I think if I'd have to say, of course, my focus is Germany and Japan, and just military hardware. When it comes to like single campaigns, there's one particular area of fighting that interests me in World War II, that is Hungary in 1944 and 45. Because in Hungary in late 44 and early 45 was really heavy fighting, because obviously Hungary, one of Germany's last allies, under Salaci, the Hungarian oil fields, basically last natural oil reserves Germany had. Germany launched heavy attacks like the Operation Conrads to relieve the besieged Budapest. The fighting in Budapest itself, you know, everyone knows Stalingrad or Berlin, but you know, the fighting in Budapest was extremely severe and extremely hard as well. The siege of Budapest, stuff like the Lake Balaton offensive, Operation Spring Awakening in early 45. So Germany in late 44 and early 45 had a lot of tank units, heavy tank units in Hungary. And so there was like a lot of fierce fighting, a lot of tank fighting going on in that area. So I'd say this is one of my primary interests in that regard. Occupation and genocides, well, don't get me wrong, these are very important topics, but it's just not something that I find particularly interesting to spend hours reading about. It's a very gruesome thing, and it's not really a nice topic, obviously. It's a horrible topic, it's important for history, but it's just not something I want to spend hours and hours upon reading. It's just not really that interesting to me. And I say that with the greatest respect, and I'm not going to deny any war crimes, I'm not going to deny the Holocaust, I think that's important. But it's just not something that I personally want to spend a lot of time researching on. So the next question is, have I already been notified or given a legal alert by an authority due to the channel's content? No. No, I have not. I doubt that any government really cares about that. My channel is clearly, you know, historically related, and I don't think any government would care much. If they would do care much, they wouldn't contact me. They would probably just contact YouTube, and YouTube would take the content down or ban my channel or whatnot. But I really doubt that if any government agency thinks my channel is bad or a threat or illegal, that they would contact me. But as I can see, you know, similar content has been up on YouTube for several years. I don't think that any government would take offense to that. Again, it's clearly labeled as a historical channel. I've written that in the channel description. My content is not in any way meant to glorify Nazism or anything. It's historical footage. I don't change anything. I don't make the content in a way. I simply translate it. So I don't think I would run into any legal trouble. I did get some copyright strikes here and there, but they usually don't affect me because I don't monetize my videos. And they don't prevent people from watching my videos in most cases. But no, I have not received any legal problems with my channel so far, and I highly doubt that this will ever occur. Are there things that you want to make a video on but you cannot find the footage? Yes, there are actually two things that I wanted to translate or wanted to upload for a long time, but I just really can't seem to find them. The first thing is a speech by Werner Naumann. He was state secretary in the propaganda ministry. He was a early Nazi party member in Silesia, and he organized some festivals there which caught the attention of Goebbels, who took him in January 1938 as his personal referent. During World War II, he initially fought with the Air Force. In 1940, switched to the Waffen-SS. Got wounded in 1942 and came back to the propaganda ministry, where he rose through the ranks, and Goebbels made him Commissioner State Secretary of the propaganda ministry in April 44. He held a speech in March 45 in Munich, in one of like the last Nazi party conventions, where he said, we have to keep on fighting and we have to believe in the Führer and whatnot. I have uploaded that speech on my channel. In April 1945, on 27th April, he held a speech in Berlin. He was apparently in the basement of the radio house in Berlin, and he was recording a speech. The speech was printed in full in this newspaper, the Panzerbeer, which was like a last-ditch German propaganda newspaper, printed in Berlin from April 22nd to April 29th. And in the April 27th issue, his speech was printed in full. There's a very short snippet, 22 seconds long, online on the Internet Archive, which suggests to me that the full speech may be out there somewhere, but I haven't been able to find it. I contacted the original uploader, I haven't got an answer, and I really wanted to translate it, even if it's only like an excerpt, but 22 seconds is just so short. So I hope that I could either find the full speech or maybe like a couple minutes long excerpt. I don't know how long the full speech is. I have the text of the full speech because it was printed in full in this newspaper, but yeah. So that is one thing. The other thing is the so-called U for Europe week, which was a weekly newsreel produced from February 1944 to January 45, 50 episodes. As the name indicates, it was more focused on Europe. There was a lot of footage included from obviously German occupied countries like France or Czechoslovakia, Poland, Denmark, but also from neutral countries like Spain or Sweden. And it was more focused on cultural and social events, economical stuff, people at work or harvest or whatnot, and not so much on war footage. There was barely any war footage or footage of soldiers in there. It was really more focused on social events. Now all of these episodes, 50, have been uploaded, but they're all in a very, very low quality. Very low quality, very pixely, and also very laggy, like too slow, like the FPS is too low. So it's just such a terrible quality that I don't want to upload them. If I ever be able to find a decent quality of them, I will upload them in a heartbeat because I really want to do them. But yeah, so far I haven't been able to find any of them. If anyone, by any chance, know where to find them, let me know in the comments. So these two I really want to do, but can't. So the next question is, do you personally have ancestors who participated in World War I/World War II? If so, what were their experience? I never had the chance, sadly, to speak to any of my ancestors who fought in these wars. My grandfather was born 1937 and he died before I was born. My father's grandfather died in the 70s. So I don't really had any family members to speak to that actually fought during World War II. I know that my great-grandfather from my mother's side, that's the only one I really know a little bit more about. He was born 1917. He fought in World War II. The reason why I know this is because he wrote like a biography that he didn't publish it or anything. He wasn't a famous person. He just wrote it down and printed it out. And I've read it when I was a kid. And so I can briefly tell about his experience. He was born 1917. He did his mandatory service in the RAD, the Reich Labor Service, in I think 1935, 1936, where he also got married. My grandma was born 1937. When World War II started, he initially wasn't drafted because of like some injury to his ear, as he told it. Oh yeah, I should mention I never had any chance to check his story or verify it. It's just all based on what he himself written. So So he wasn't drafted. He later then was drafted, I think 1940 or 1941, where he initially did guard duty in various like factories or power plants throughout Germany. And in 1943, he was then drafted to, or he was sent to an NCO school and became an NCO in a mortar company. And very early after he was sent to the front line, it might have been his first real mission. He was like marching with his unit, and the way he describes it is that there were 2 tanks coming close to their marching column, and they could tell that they were German tanks by the engine noise. But these tanks were then driven by Soviet collaborative soldiers who basically told these soldiers via loudspeaker to, cooperate with the Soviets. And when his unit wouldn't respond, these 2 tanks shot into the supply track and killed the horses and the supply wagons. And he then said that his officer shot himself in the head, his commanding officer, and he and the rest of his unit surrendered to these German Soviet collaborative tank soldiers, whatever. And he was then kept in a prisoner of war camp until I think 1946. And he later on managed to open his own butcher shop and became rather successful and wealthy. But yeah, that's the only thing I really know. I don't really know about my dad's, like my grandfather from the father's side or any other member of my family. So that's really the only thing I can tell you. It has been very interesting to start seeing Japanese newsreels. Where do you get them? Who does the translating? And will we be seeing more? So first of all, thank you for saying that they're interesting. They don't really get a lot of views as my other videos do, but I still really enjoy translating them and I find them very interesting. Where I get them from, the website of the NHK. The NHK is the national television broadcaster of Japan, and they have all of these episodes. Well, I haven't checked every single one, but I'm pretty sure they have all of them uploaded on their archive website. I'm going to put a link in the comment section. And just give you something you can copy paste in there to search for any specific issue you want. Who does the translating? Well, I do. Like everything on my channel, I translate these things, which is arguably a lot more difficult than the German newsreels because World War II Japanese, or especially the Japanese that is used in these newsreels, is rather a lot different from modern Japanese. Like the German that is used in the German newsreels is very similar to modern German, but the Japanese that is used in these newsreels is very different from modern Japanese. A lot of like archaic ways, poetic ways almost of saying. A lot of words that have different meanings nowadays are pronounced different. It definitely helps that the transcription is already done. Like you can find the text, the script of these newsreels also on the NHK website, but still I do all the translations. Will we be seeing more? Yes. As of now I have 9 episodes finished and ready to go, which I will upload over the course of the next months, and I will definitely do some more. So yes, you will be definitely seeing more of them. Alright, next question. This is Cinnamon. Yeah, I know this is you. You're a very interesting person. Do you have a favorite food? What an amazing question. Sorry. Yes, I'd say pizza, probably, pizza or sushi, but I like a lot of food. So, yeah, but I'd say pizza. Probably not nothing that special, but I just really enjoy it. Of course, without pineapple, people who eat pizza with pineapple should be hanged at Nuremberg. But other than that, yeah. All right, let's get back to something with a little more substance. Are you currently reading military history? If so, which books? So first of all, I don't really read a lot of military books. I'm more interested in reading, original documents and looking at original pictures and looking at maps and all that stuff. I usually don't have the time or the nerves to read like a 100-page long book, so I don't really read a lot of military history books. But 2 that I am currently reading, which I can definitely recommend, they're both about the Battle of Budapest. The first one is called The Siege of Budapest, 100 Days in World War II, by Christian Ungváry, which is a Hungarian historian. It also appears in English under the name of The Battle of Budapest. There were different versions written, and I'm reading the German version, which I think is a little bit different than the English one. But at any rate, it's so this Ungvari guy is a Hungarian historian who is specialized in this, like, Battle of Budapest, Hungary, Theater of War, 1944-45. It's a very well written book. I can definitely recommend it if you're interested in that battle. Siege of Budapest is definitely it's one of the lesser known battles of World War II, but it's a very intense one, very hardly fought over one, and it's definitely it's definitely a good read. The second book I'm reading is Images of War: The Battle for Budapest, 1944-1945 by Anthony Tucker Jones, which is more, as the name indicates, more of a picture collection. But it does have some very interesting pictures, particularly of Hungarian units and Hungarian forces. So yeah, again, this is more focused on images than on actual text, but I could also recommend that. So these two are the ones that I'm currently reading. Alright, next question. Are you going to upload newsreels of other countries like Vichy France, Finland, or the Soviet Union? No. Mainly, for the simple reason that I don't speak any of these languages. I don't speak Russian, I don't speak French, I don't speak Finnish. I also don't speak, for example, Hungarian or Romanian. I'm pretty sure these countries also had their newsweeks. I don't have any of these. I don't know how easy I could find them, but even if I would find them, there wouldn't be much sense, because usually I upload my stuff with English subtitles, and since I don't speak any of these languages, I will not do them. If any of you knows a channel that translates them with English subtitles, let me and let other people know in the comments, so you can go there and watch them on someone else's channel, but yeah, I'm not able to do them, I'm sorry. Alright, so this next question is a little bit a broad question. It's about what I think of today's society. So I try to keep politics away from this channel. Obviously I have a political opinion, but I try to keep it away from this channel. Jesus, that was a nice artillery strike. So I will not talk about politics or my own political opinion, which of course I do have. But just in general, I think obviously humanity has achieved many advancements in technology and medicine, which, you know, would have been unthinkable 50 years ago. And I think many people take them for granted. So I think people ought to be a little bit more thankful for what, for example, modern medicine can do or what technology can do nowadays. What I also find interesting about modern society is this paradox that we have. Like modern humans have it the easiest to accumulate knowledge, right? You can just use your phone and have basically an immense amount of knowledge in your hands, but people get like more stupid every day. It's like the amount of people that are like, especially younger people, especially teenagers or people in my age group, like in their early mid-20s, it's incredible how stupid people are. Despite having so much, in theory, having so much knowledge, like accessible so easily, but they're just so stupid. And like common sense is really no longer a thing. Like this guy who tries to attack my headquarters on his own. Good job. I love competitive heroes. But yeah, so also the common sense is really not there anymore. People are so stupid. And this is something that I really find, especially young people. You know, you would think because they have like the smartphone and computer and all that stuff, they would be really smart, but it just makes them stupid. So that's something I see somewhat critical, like not related to any political. This is not political talk. It's just like a general observation about today's society. So I find just like, and it's not only young people, it's also like older people. It's just like how little common sense people have and what kind of stupid questions people ask is really amazing. So that's why I kind of don't really like modern society, because just people are so stupid nowadays. But yeah, I think that's probably all I'm going to say about this one. Alright, as a fellow content creator whose videos have been shut down by YouTube, not featuring insignia or anything controversial, do you have any tips on how to minimize the risk? First of all, I wouldn't really call myself a content creator. I don't really like that word. I would at best call myself a translator, but I don't really create any of the content. I just, translate it and put remarks on it. But anyways, I looked over your channel and it seems that it's like not really historical stuff in a way, but more like art things. So I'm not really sure if I'm like the best person to give advice for that. All I can say is that YouTube has these guidelines. So what I do, obviously, I make sure that this is propaganda, that this is not true. I write these intro cards. I put it in the video description, the channel description, that this is propaganda. I'll moderate my comment section to make sure that some weird neo-Nazi comments get deleted. In fact, I manually check every comment before it gets released. I think that also helps, because a lot of World War II videos are usually flooded with neo-Nazi comments, so I kind of keep my comment section clean from that trash. But yeah, other than that, I don't really know. Maybe, ask on Reddit or whatnot if you have a specific question regarding that. I don't really think I can help you there, because, I do historical stuff. What you do seem to be more like art style stuff, which is completely fine. I'm just not really sure if I'm like if I can give you good advice for that. All right, we're over 40 minutes already. If you're still watching, we're getting close to the end. There's only a couple more questions remaining. The next one would be, do your interest lie specifically in World War II and historical video footage, or are you interested in any other historical events, period? Yes, I have a broad interest in a lot of historical episodes from the ancient world to the modern world, especially when it comes to warfare. This interest particularly stems from video games. I'm a big fan of the Total War series. So, for example, played a lot of medieval Total War, so I'm interested in medieval combat. I played Three Kingdoms, which means I'm interested in ancient China. I'm interested in warfare of ancient Greek and Romans and stuff like that. But of course, I'm also interested in, for example, German history, basically all the way from the ancient Romans to nowadays, from Charlemagne, Bismarck, you name it, Holy Roman Empire. I have a broad historical interest. Of course, you can't know or be interested in literally all of human history, but again, when it comes to especially when it comes to warfare, I have a broad interest, which especially stems from strategy games, which are set in ancient Rome or ancient Egypt, in medieval times, in the Napoleonic era and all that stuff. One more thing, historical video footage. I'm actually not that interested in video footage per se. It's just obviously the medium that we use to see, or that to the medium that's available to us for World War II is obviously video footage, or pictures and video footage. But I'm not really interested in the technical side of, for example, video cameras or what kind of cameras were used back then. I'm not really interested in the technical side of 35mm films or 60mm films. So it's just a medium that we use to see this footage, right? But I'm not particularly interested in the technical side of that. Alright, next question. Do you plan on uploading any pre-World War II or activism era speeches / news broadcast, or does YouTube not allow it? First of all, just because something isn't on my channel, or in a wider sense isn't on YouTube, doesn't necessarily mean YouTube doesn't allow it. There's always just a possibility that, just no one has done it before. I don't really like this idea that, just because you can't find something on YouTube, it means that it's banned. Maybe just no one had the idea of uploading it before. That being said, if you had actually checked my channel carefully, and I have playlists for every year, you would have seen that I did pre-World War II stuff. I did 2 speeches by Goebbels, one public campaign speech in July 1932, a few days before the election, and one speech of his in the Reichstag in February 1931. In addition, I did a speech of Mussolini that he held in German in 1937. So I already did pre-World War II stuff. But that being said, my channel name is still German World War II Archive. So, of course, I can upload whatever I want. I'm free to pick my own videos. but I still want to kind of stay in the boundaries of World War II. So I will maybe in the future do some more Weimar era or pre-World War II stuff, but it's pretty low on my list, to be completely honest with you. So probably not. Can you do more songs from the German Navy, World War II, and Air Force? I'm not really sure where this is coming from. I have not uploaded a single song or march or whatnot on my channel, and the main reason I haven't done this is because they have been uploaded dozens of times to YouTube already. There are a lot of dedicated channels to military music that have a lot of German military music and songs and marches. If you want to listen to any German World War II era soldier's song or march or whatnot, just type in the name in YouTube and it will probably pop up. Or if it isn't on YouTube, a couple of songs are a little bit probably too, how should I say, they're a little bit controversial. You can find them elsewhere in the internet. Just pop their name into Google and they will show up. But yeah, I don't really think it's necessary for me to upload these things. You're maybe confusing this with my World War I channel, where I've uploaded a couple of World War I songs, but yeah, I'm not gonna do any songs on this channel because they already have been uploaded on a lot of different channels. So, just type the name in the YouTube search bar and you will find them. There's no need for me to upload them as well. So the next question is in Russian, and I used to translate it because I don't speak any Russian, and it translates to how did this end up on Russian YouTube. I think what this is referring to is the fact that over the last few weeks I got a lot of views from Russia, and I got a lot of some Russian-speaking channels that have like a lot of subscribers subscribe to my channel. I don't know. The YouTube algorithm works in mysterious ways, and probably just randomly decided to show my videos to a couple thousand of Russian viewers. That being said, I have absolutely no problem. My videos and generally history is open to everyone. I don't care where you're from, or who you are, or what you do in your life. If you have an interest in history, you're more than welcome to watch my videos. Everyone can watch my videos. So yeah, I don't know why the YouTube algorithm decided to suddenly show my videos to a few thousand viewers in Russia, but again, everyone is welcome on my channel. Will you eventually translate all of the Wochenschau episodes? No, I will not. First of all, even if I wanted to, I can't because I don't have all of them in decent quality. I have around 220 Wochenschau issues on my hard drive right now, but there's like always gaps between them. For example, I have issue number 528, but I don't have 529. I have 530 and 531, but I don't have 532. And so, there's like always a few I'm missing here and there. Some of them are in really low quality, and I kind of want to stick to only uploading good or at least mediocre quality ones, where I can actually at least still see some of the details. So that's makes it technically even impossible for me to upload all of them. Second of all, a lot of them I don't really find that interesting. Some are plain boring, focused on political things. There are also some which I consider probably a little bit too risky to upload on YouTube, for the simple reason that they focus a lot on Hitler or have very strong anti-Semitic stuff in them. And at the end of the day, I need to find them interesting enough to translate them and to edit them and write remarks on them, and I just don't find all of them interesting. That being said, I will upload more. I think right now I have 25 uploaded, but if I'll just check how much I have done. So I have 12 1944 Newsweeks, which are all finished and ready to go, and I have 11 more from 1940 to 1943, which are all ready to go. Plus I have another folder of around, I think, 31 Newsweeks, or 32, which I eventually want to do. So I could definitely see myself uploading, up to 80, 90, 100 Newsweek episodes over the course of this year and next year probably, but I will not do all of them. So yeah, but I eventually plan to, have at least like a lot of them, and from obviously different months of the war. I did that. I recently, uploaded the 1939 one, before that the 1941. So I try to upload some more from this period and try to close some gaps that I have in my playlist. But I will not do all of them, sadly. I'm sorry. And this is the last question. Do you like the modern German anthem or the East German anthem more? I think what this is referring to is that a lot of people have said that the East German anthem sounds more beautiful to them in terms of lyrics and the music than the modern German anthem. On that being said, you know, I don't want to talk too much about politics, but I'm not really a socialist. So I reject the GDR completely. The GDR was never a legitimate German state. And so I also reject anything that this so-called country has produced. So no. I can understand that people say the anthem on itself sounds maybe good, but you know, you always have to view it in the circumstances, and the GDR was a criminal dictatorship, and that, you know, killed its own people and prevented its own people from leaving the country. Yes, I do not like the East German anthem at all. Alright, and that is all. I answered all of the questions I got. Thank you very much for submitting your questions. I hope I was able to clarify some things and answer all of the questions. If there's anything, you know, you want clarification on, you have any follow-up questions or anything, just drop them in the comments below. And again, thank you very much for reaching 40,000 subscribers and for all your kind messages, all the gratitude messages that I received. Yeah, just thank you very much. This is actually the first time speaking or, you know, recording something like this, so of course this isn't perfect. I didn't write a script or anything, I just looked at the question and just said what came to my mind. That's why, you know, there's a lot of ams and ums in this video. Of course I could have written a script and made this a perfect video, but this would have taken a very long time. And I think this is a more natural way, and you know, if I had written a script, this would have taken probably days or weeks for me to do. And now I was able to do this in just like one evening. But yeah, I hope I answered all your questions. Again, if there's anything unclear, any follow-up questions, just drop them in the comments below. And other than that, my upload schedule will continue as regular, so you'll get a new video every weekend. And I hope that you'll continue watch my channel. One more thing, I'm gonna do some shameless self-advertisement here. I have a World War I channel. I'm sure most of you already know this. Some maybe do. So feel free to subscribe or check that out. There are also a couple of World War I newsreels. They don't have any sound, so they're not as interesting as the World War II ones. But you know, feel free to check it out if you're interested in World War I. Maybe consider subscribing. And that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I wish you all a happy weekend, or happy, well, what's left of it, a good new week and a good start in 2024, and I'll see you all soon. Goodbye.